I still remember the exact second it happened, not because it was loud, but because of how quiet the room became right after. The woman behind the counter didn't raise her voice. She didn't sneer. She smiled, the kind of tight professional smile people use when they think they're being polite while saying something cruel. "Ma'am," she said, tapping her manicured nails lightly against the marble clients, like you usually don't handle transactions of that size here. "You might feel more comfortable at one of our neighborhood branches. Clients like you." She let the words sit there, dressed up in courtesy, pretending they didn't mean exactly what they meant. I stood there, shoulders relaxed, hands resting calmly on the counter. Navy blazer, simple shoes, no logos screaming for attention. No need. I looked her in the eye and waited a beat, not because I was stunned, but because I've learned silence makes people reveal more than anger ever will. I'd walked into that bank to withdraw a large amount of cash. Nothing dramatic. Tuition, family stuff, life. I slid my ID and paperwork toward her. She barely glanced at them before pushing them back like they carried something contagious. "There are additional verification steps," she continued, her voice smooth, practiced. "Especially with unusual accounts." Unusual. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was familiar. That tight feeling settled in my chest, the one I've felt in airport lounges, boardrooms, hotel lobbies where people assume I'm lost early to clean or late to leave. The feeling that says, you don't belong here even when you built the place. I checked the time on my watch. I was already cutting it close. Somewhere across town a meeting was starting without me. But right then I knew this wasn't just about getting my money and leaving. This was about something deeper, something old, something ugly that people think they can hide behind policy and procedure. I asked calmly, "What exactly needs to be verified? My identity is valid. The account is active. The funds are available." Her smile tightened. "These things take time," she said. "Large withdrawals raise flags. We have to be careful about the nature of the funds." The implication wasn't subtle. Criminal, illicit, suspicious. I nodded slowly like I was considering her words when really I was watching everything else, the way another teller avoided eye contact, the way a man in line behind me stopped scrolling on his phone, the way a security guard shifted his weight, already uncomfortable. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't say who I was. Instead, I waited. That seemed to irritate her more than anger ever could. She called over a supervisor. He repeated the same phrases like they were reading from a script everyone had memorized, but no one had written down. Protocol, standards, precautions. I noticed how none of the words were specific, just vague enough to protect them, sharp enough to cut me. Then she said it, the line that changed the air. "This is a premium institution," she said a little louder now. "Some people need to understand their place." There it was, clean, clear, undeniable. The room went still. Even the security guard flinched. He was young, nervous eyes flicking between me and her like he wanted to disappear. Someone near the entrance lifted their phone, pretending to check messages while very obviously recording. I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not humiliation, clarity. I leaned slightly closer to the counter, my voice low, steady. "I want to make sure I understand," I said. "You're refusing to process a legitimate withdrawal because you've decided I don't fit your idea of who belongs here." She bristled. "I didn't say that." "You did," I replied gently, just not out loud. Her supervisor tried to step in, suggesting we move the conversation somewhere private. I shook my head. "No," I said. "Transparency is fine." My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again, I didn't look. She did. For the first time, doubt crossed her face. "Who keeps calling you?" she asked, trying to sound in control. "Colleagues," I said, "wondering why I'm late." That was when the room started recalculating. A teller whispered something to another. The security guard looked at me differently now, not afraid, not suspicious, curious. The supervisor's posture shifted just slightly, like someone realizing they might be standing on thin ice. I checked the time again, took a breath. "Before we go any further," I said, "I want this moment to be very clear." And then I stopped talking. That's when the elevator doors opened behind us. A woman stepped out, confident, composed, unmistakably in charge. She scanned the room once, and her eyes locked on mine. "There you are," she said. "We've been waiting." You could hear it. The sound of understanding hitting the room all at once. The manager's face drained of color. The supervisor swallowed hard. The phone stayed up. Introductions happened quickly after that. Names, titles, the kind of words people only start using when it's already too late. The woman who'd dismissed me 5 minutes earlier now couldn't meet my eyes. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't smile. I repeated calmly exactly what had been said to me. Word for word, no exaggeration, no emotion, just facts. Each sentence landed heavier than the last. No one interrupted. When I finished, the room was silent. Not awkward silence, not polite silence, the kind that follows truth when it has nowhere to hide. Apologies came then, awkward, rushed, suddenly sincere. I accepted none of them and rejected none either. I didn't need to. That wasn't the point. Please, I said, process the transaction as requested. The teller's hands shook as she counted the cash. Triple-checked it. Slid it toward me like it was fragile. I gathered my things, thanked the security guard by name, watched his shoulders straighten just a little, and turned toward the door. No speech, no victory lap. As I walked out, the glass doors reflected a room full of people left alone with themselves. Phones still recording, eyes lowered, a reputation unraveling quietly. Outside, the air felt different, lighter. Not because I'd won, but because I hadn't needed to fight. I made it to my meeting a few minutes late. No one mentioned it. They never do. Later that night, clips started circulating. Opinions flew. Some people wanted punishment. Others wanted forgiveness. Most wanted to argue about whether what happened was really discrimination at all. I watched it all from a distance, thinking about how often moments like that pass unseen, unrecorded, unresolved. How many people walk out smaller than they walked in carrying someone else's assumptions like unpaid debt? I didn't leave that bank feeling powerful. I left feeling confirmed. Because power isn't raising your voice. It isn't embarrassing someone publicly. It isn't proving your worth to people who already decided you didn't have any. Real power is letting the truth arrive on its own and being steady enough to stand there when it does. So here's what I want to know from you, and don't answer quickly. Do you think people treat you differently because of who you are? Or because of what they assume you're not? I'll be reading the comments.